Okay, it's 11, so we're going to get started. So hello to all 52 of you. Thank you for joining me on my first live. I did submit about 5 or 6 videos previously with Pilates, so you may have done some of them. If you haven't done anything like that before, or you've done no exercise before, then this is perfect. Pilates is phenomenal. I always tell people, and they don't believe me until they actually start getting into it, that it's really good for lower back pain, which I know, hands up if you've had lower back pain before. Thank you very much, Alison. Have a good day. It's, you know, because we have spent time in the past or currently, we sort of slouch when we're sitting down, when we're eating our dinner, sitting on the sofa of an evening, driving, sitting at the desks, or the complete opposite if you are standing up for long periods of time. You know, it's like you think, oh, my back hurts. Even when we're standing in a queue, queuing up outside, waiting for a bus, talking to our friends. If you smoke, sometimes smokers sort of tend to lean in a little bit, carrying a heavy handbag on your shoulder, small children, you know, if you've had children, all these things can really affect our bodies. And that's why it's really important that we do strength and mobility exercises in order for us to feel so much better. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk you through Pilates. So just get comfortable for a few more minutes. Hi from West Cornwall, lovely, thank you. First time watching this, thanks very much for joining me. So Pilates, there's different sort of fundamentals about Pilates. We've got like the control and our core. So our core, believe it or not, we all have a core, okay? Even though if you think that you can't see it and you think it doesn't work, it is there. It's the powerhouse of our body. So everything comes from our core. Even standing on your tiptoes or on one leg, reaching for something off the top shelf, you are always using your core. I can't stress that enough. Thank you, good morning. And it's just so important to always think, oh, my core's working right now. So what could have happened is your core is still there, but it might be quite weak. And if you don't do sort of exercises, or if you've done no sort of exercise before, your core will automatically start to sort of relax down. And that's when we find sometimes our lifestyle choices are even affected even more because our core isn't there. So Pilates is definitely very, very good for your core. Hello, Wendy. So what we're going to do is concentrate on that and how to sort of warm up the core and use it. And it's a lot about control. Now, we also use something called mind to muscle connection. And mind to muscle connection, if you've not done any exercise before, then you might not know what this means. But basically, when you actually get in the zone of your exercises and think, I'm going to nod my chin and then my core is going to bring me up, you'll get more out of the exercise than just going, right, I'm going to lift up now. Okay, and you'll know as we go along in next sessions, you'll feel that, and I will always encourage you to use it. It's a really good way of connecting your body to your mind, and you will definitely get more out of the exercises. So before I teach you a few things, if you have any previous injuries, like even from 30 years ago to last week, please go very, very easy. We're going to be doing sort of very light things today, but you'll be surprised, you know, people can cough and put their backs out. So just be very careful that you know your own limits. Please never ever push yourself to the point of pain. You might feel a little bit discomfort because your body, which I'll talk about in a moment, is, you know, if we've never done a lot of exercise before and we suddenly start doing it, your muscles are like, oh, what are we doing? Because your muscles have memory, okay? That's why ballet dancers always know how to pirouette, and even if they started doing it when they were 5 and now they're 80, because their muscles have that memory, okay? So if you always, when you sit down, you sit like this, your muscles will always go, oh, we're sitting down, so we do this. And that's what Pilates and other forms of exercise, yoga as well, it retrains the body to think, no, we don't sit like that anymore. So Joseph Pilates, who invented Pilates way back, said that in 30 sessions of Pilates, you will have a new body. And it is true. I've been teaching for 4 years, And a lot of people say, I actually can't not come, because even if I have 2 weeks off, my body really feels a difference. So try and keep at it, even if you just do a little bit here and there. I do have a YouTube channel as well, which I will link down below, and obviously all these sessions will be posted to the page as well. Okay, so you can just do a little bit here and there. Please don't put pressure on yourselves to think, oh, I can't do it, or I'm not very good at this, because this is why we're here, to always keep ourselves going, and we can all encourage each other. And it's lovely that I've got 71 people watching me, so thank you so much. One thing I'm going to talk about very briefly is the breathing aspect. Now, we breathe in life, it kind of helps, and when we do exercises, sometimes our breathing goes right out of the window because we're concentrating. So we never think about breathing. Right now you might be thinking that you feel short of breath because you realise that you're thinking about breathing, but when we do exercises, we always need to breathe out on the hardest part of the exercise, okay, on the effort, so you breathe out. This is why, you know, when you see I don't know if you're like me and watch The World's Strongest Man, you see them go really red in the face. They sometimes have nosebleeds, and they look like their face is going to explode. That's because they're not breathing out when they should be, which just causes the sort of your blood to like not go anywhere, and that's why they get such a red face. So just be very careful of that. If you have high blood pressure or equally low blood pressure, hi Linda, just be very careful that you are breathing correctly. And if you feel lightheaded at any point, please stop, okay, because it's just not worth it. So that's just a very important thing I always stress. And I will remind you as well, I know that I'm talking now for 7 minutes, so there's so much to sort of think about and take in, but these are just really important things that we need to get through first of all. So I know that most of you are beginners. If you've just joined me, hello. We're going to be just talking now about the neutral pelvis. So if we think about our bodies and the spine, okay, our lower back takes so much pressure from everything we do. So if you walk a lot but you don't wear shoes that support your feet, what happens is you can stomp. Imagine this is the ball of your foot. You can stomp on the ball of your foot, which will cause sort of all the shock absorbers, if you like, in your back to really tense up. And they're like, oh God, this is too much for us, okay? Equally, if you don't roll your foot, or like I say, if you wear very flat shoes that don't have much support in them, I would suggest you can get a gel inner sole, and that will sort of curve to your actual foot, and it will really sort of help you to not feel as much pain, because with the lower back, if you think about it, is right in the middle of our bodies. So whatever happens above it and below it, our lower back is like, oh, okay, here we go again, okay? So sometimes I once had a client who had really bad shoulder pain, and she came to Pilates and it helped her, but she went to a chiropractor, and she actually had like a really tight ankle. And I know that sounds really crazy, but because what can happen is all the tension builds up in our legs and goes through our thighs, to our glutes, and hits our lower back. So just be very careful. Sometimes if you have lower back pain, if you've got lower back pain, just sort of mention below. But what can happen is it's actually a combination of all your lifestyle choices and your shoes and your job, and it creates really tight muscles, especially in our hamstrings. So what can happen is we don't always have a bad back, we just have very tight legs. So with that being said, with the spine, okay, if you have, say, tight legs and you're walking along and you're like, oh, my legs are tight, what happens is you just, even naturally, you'll just start to slump over. Now, if we were to sit up like this all the time, you can imagine it doesn't feel very good. You sort of think like, oh, that's sore. But that is how we should always sit, because our spine is elongating, our muscles aren't cramped, our lungs aren't even crushed. All these tiny things over the course of the next few weeks and sessions, you're going to realise such a difference. Davina McCall actually grew an inch from doing Pilates. Yes, it's true. Because she was slumped over and our shoulders naturally rounded a little bit, she just sits up really nice and tall, and the spine goes longer, and therefore so does she, okay? Bulging disc, yeah. Sciatica, we will be doing lots of stretches for sciatica, and again, tight legs, Obviously, sciatica affects the nerves from the lower back going down those legs. So we'll be doing lots of stretches for legs as well. So we're going to talk now about the neutral pelvis. Okay, so this is where it can get a little bit complicated, but please stick with me because it takes time. It took me a month when I first started learning about Pilates. It took me a month to get you, sorry, my dog's barking. It took me a month to sort of think, oh, is this right? Is that right? Because I just give yourself some time here. Okay, now I'm going to be doing it standing up. You're not going to see my face, but honestly, you don't have to, and I'm sure you're sick of the sight of it already. So I'll give you all just a minute to stand up if you're not already standing up, okay? And just move myself a little bit. So when we naturally stand, we never think about our feet and we never think about the way we're standing, okay? Unless you are ballet trained or maybe a horse rider previously, then you may do, but you probably never think about it. So first things first, we start from the feet, and our feet are together, and then we push the heels out and the toes forwards. Now, what can happen is sometimes if we naturally walk out with our toes out, what can happen is that can travel up and put pressure on our knees. Is it suitable for sciatica? Yes, it will help you. Like I said before, if you've got any injuries or pains, please just check with your doctor. But and never push to the point of pain, okay? So back to the feet, if you all can see me. The feet are hip width apart. So let's just go back and do it again. So the feet are right together. Make sure your big toes are in line, and then we push the heels out, and then we push the toes forwards, okay? Now, just from here, I want you to lift your toes off the floor and put some weight in the back of your foot. If you need to hold on to something, please do. And then roll over onto the toes so your heels come off the floor slightly. And then we come back, and then we roll forward, and then we come back, and then we roll forward. And now what we want to do is get this smaller and smaller movement so we naturally find natural weight between the ball of the foot and the heel. Okay? So just go very slowly, and then when you think that your foot's evenly balanced on the floor, just imagine someone's picking up your toes, stretching them out, and then lower them back down, okay? And this should be sort of your natural foot movement. Now, some people have very flat feet, some people have very arched feet, okay? It doesn't matter, just as long as your toes are facing forward and your feet are hip width apart. Now, if we were to imagine we have a ruler from our ankles going up to our knees, going up the front of the thigh into the hips, this wants to be in a straight line. This is not hip width apart. Most people think it is, but it's not. We want to be here, okay? So just take a second now just to look down. Are your ankles in line with your knees? Are your knees in line with your hips? Okay, and if they are, you are hip width apart, all right? So now we've got that nice and relaxed, the toes are nice and relaxed down. We're going to talk about this area here, okay, our pelvic region. Now, what can cause lower back pain and sort of problems everywhere in the body is if we stand like this, right? So my back is completely flat, there's no natural curves in it. My thighs are powering forward, my knees are bent, I've got terrible posture. I call this the Mr. Bean posture, okay? So we're sort of all floppy because we have no proper posture here. And our bodies have muscle memory. So if we always stand like this, that's how we will always stand. No matter if we're talking to a friend in the street or washing up, this is how we'll stand. So how do we correct this? I want you all now, and if you're sitting down, you can do this as well, okay? I want you to tuck your pelvis under. Now that means, imagine your glutes, so your bottom, and then you're squeezing it together, so your thighs are now powering forward. So your spine, that stays nice and straight, but you're powering forward, okay? So as you can see, if I have my hands down by my sides, my wrists are almost touching my glutes because this part of my body is going forward. Okay, so this is incredibly bad posture, but don't worry, we all do it. So how do we correct this? If you take your your middle finger and your index finger, And I want you to find sort of just underneath the hip bone and push back. Okay, and now as you will see, my glutes and everything are now in alignment. Okay, so I've gone from Mr. Bean to a nice tall sunflower, as you can see. Okay, this is called a pelvic tilt. All right, so this takes sometimes a little while to get the hang of, so please don't worry, we're going to go and keep going through it. Okay, so let's go from again. So just check down from the toes. Are your toes facing forward and the whole foot is on the floor? Now if we tuck it under, so our thighs are going forwards, fingertips underneath the hips, push back and lengthen up. So you'll feel a difference even in your knees. Okay, so if we tuck under, hold it here, so really feel like you're rounding over, and then push back, and you'll have no option but to stand tall. Your spine and everything will lengthen out. Okay, so let's just keep doing that. So if we tuck under and then untuck, so just keep doing this. You can never do this too many times, okay, especially if your body is like this. So just keep practicing whilst I talk for a second about natural spine. So we all have a natural curve in our spine. Some people maybe have scoliosis or lordosis or kyphosis, where that means the spine will change, or you might have more, so your glutes might stick out and you have a deeper lower arch in your spine. Okay, don't worry if this is you, because what you will need to do, because your spine is so curved out, you need to tuck under to relieve any tension in this lower back. Okay, so it's the same if you stand up all day and you're probably slouching over. If you really tuck under, you're stretching out your lower spine. Okay, so if you go back to that neutral pelvis, you don't want to stick your glutes out too much so you look like Kim Kardashian. Okay, never a good look. You just want the natural curves of the spine. Okay, so if you sit down a lot during the day, then you can keep getting up and practicing this neutral pelvis. And then when you sit down, imagine you're sitting on your sitting bones, so you're not tucking under. All right, so let's just do that a few more times. So untuck and then fingertips underneath. We're going to tuck right now, really squeeze everything and then push back. Okay, one more time. Tuck it under and then uncurl. Wonderful. And now what I'd like you to do is come to sit down. You can sit down on a chair, or you can come and sit cross-legged. Now, before you all think, oh my God, I can't sit cross-legged, you can. Everyone can sit cross-legged. You just have very tight muscles which allow you to not sit down cross-legged. But we're going to try that now. So, when we come to sit down, this would be in a car or a chair. Obviously, I haven't got a car or a chair right now, so I'm just going to sit on the floor. But when you come sit down of an evening in front of your TV or at dinner, you'll naturally probably slump, okay? And then therefore you eat when you're slumping, and that can cause bloatedness as well. So that's another thing to think about. But if you're struggling right now to sit cross-legged, what I'd like you to do is move your feet away from your body. So it doesn't matter if you're sitting cross-legged like this, okay? That doesn't matter, because what happens is you will have very, very tight hip flexors, okay? So the hips here, especially if you've had children, or like I said, if you've got very tight legs, that will also affect your hip flexors, all right? So this is why we do Pilates, to stretch our bodies out, all right? So true, I was 5'11" after doing years in stretches. I was 6 foot. That's completely right, because you're stretching your body out. So try and sit cross-legged then. Let's have a little test to see how tight our legs are. So we're doing a little bit of Pilates now. So I want you to sit cross-legged however you are, or if you're in your chair. And I want you to sit up really tall. So even if your feet are out here, that's fine. Just sit up really, really tall, okay? So as you can see, okay, if I'm slumping round, can you see sort of my spine here? I've got like a hump in the middle of my back. But as soon as I sit up straight, the hump goes and my spine lengthens. So just sit like this, just for a few seconds, and listen to me. So find your perfect posture. Sit on your sitting bones, don't slump under. You can even push your hands on the outside of your thighs and then tuck your sitting bones under a little bit more, and that will help create even more sort of natural curves within the spine. And then move your feet forward. If you're feeling pain within your hips, don't worry. If this feels like, oh my gosh, I really can't do this, don't worry, because what I want you to do is every session we do, we're always going to sit cross-legged to see how far you've come. And I guarantee if you stick with me, you'll be able to sit cross-legged. And even if this is not your goal, what will happen is your legs will become so much more relaxed, and you'll find just little tiny things won't be as painful, okay? So just sit up really tall, and I want you to push your shoulders down. Now, shoulders, neck pain, if you suffer with a lot of headaches, migraines, it could be that you have very tight trap muscles, which are the muscles here. And ladies, especially if you wear a bra strap that is too tight, this can create very tight muscles in the shoulders. Or if you have, I'm guilty of it, a heavy handbag on one shoulder, okay, that can also pull you down. So from here, no matter where your knees are, you can place your wrists onto your thighs even, and imagine, take a nice deep breath in, and then breathe out. Imagine someone's pushing their fingertips on top of your shoulders. And it should feel really quite nice. Just completely let your neck and shoulders go, and then just relax and let them go loose again, okay? The amount of people I see where their shoulders are up here, and your muscles will have memory, so your shoulders will always go there. You need to try and push them down. You see the difference even between here and here. So let's do that a few more times, trying to relax those hip muscles. So take a nice deep breath in this time, breathe in, and bring the shoulders right up to the ears. And now breathe out. Imagine someone's pushing your shoulders down as far as they will go. And you should feel lots of nice sort of relaxing feelings around the neck. And let's do it one more time. So breathe in, lift the shoulders right up. And breathe out, push right down. And then relax, okay? So there's two little exercises. I'll give you a third one in a moment. But there's two little exercises I want you to keep practicing every day when you wake up, when you go to bed, when there's an ad break of Coronation Street even, or just try and be more aware of how are my shoulders. Are they right up here and come down? Stress and anxiety are a massive sort of side effect of having tight shoulders, because without realising it, when we get stressed out, we tense our body up. Especially if you are quite stressed out, you might clench your fists a bit more, and all that tension will travel up your arm into your shoulder and into your neck. So just try and relax a little bit more, and I guarantee if you have headaches, it might help you, okay? Another good one we're going to do is we're going to test out how tight our hamstrings are. So, hey, here we go. Right, we're going to stretch our legs out nice and long. Apologies, you can't see me completely. We're going to sit with our legs out long in front of us. Now, this might be really tense already, so if it is, don't worry, just try and keep going. Just for the moment, whilst I'm still talking, you can bend the knees a little bit to relieve any tension. Now, you might already be feeling this in your lower back, okay, and your hips if you've got very tight leg muscles. So don't worry about that. We're going to sort of try and relax that with the breath, all right? So when you're ready, I want you to find your neutral pelvis, even when we're sitting down. So hands come down just by the side of your bottom, and then scoot it under, and then extend the spine nice and long, okay? If you feel any tension in the lower back, don't worry. If you feel pain, please come out of this, okay? And then extend the legs out long. So even I have tight hips, which is terrible for Pilates teacher, but I can even feel it here in my hips already, and maybe in your thighs. So if you can, just try and keep a mental note of all of this, so as we progress, you'll see that actually it's getting a lot easier. So now what we're going to do is push up through our heels. So our foot wants to be, so imagine you're trying to kick someone away from you, okay? And then what we're going to do is place the hands on top of the thighs. We want our spine nice and long, so think of a pencil or a ruler up against your spine, and it's perfectly straight, and we're looking straight ahead. Our eye line is very important in Pilates. It really helps to guide us through an exercise. So hands on top of the thighs, we inhale, And then we're going to exhale, nod the chin, so we're looking down towards the thighs, and then we're just very slowly breathing out, hands are going down the legs. Now, if like me, you're a little bit tight today, that's fine, but just see how far down your hands are going, okay? If they're only here, that's fine, don't worry. If you're a little bit further down, fantastic, but this is to see how tight your legs are. So if you're going to here and you think I actually physically cannot go any further, then you probably have very, very tight hamstrings and tight hips. If you're going down a little bit more, probably means that you've got a lot more flexibility and you might have a little bit of soreness there, but it doesn't affect you so much. Okay, so let's do it a couple more times. So just inhale, very nice and slowly, nice and relaxed, come back up to sitting. So your spine's really, really tall. Hands on top of the thighs, we breathe in, and then we breathe out, we nod down, so our eyes are looking down towards the thighs, push through the heels, breathe out, and let the hands go all the way down. And every time we do it, it will get easier, and our muscles are still quite cold, but it's just good as a little test. And then inhale, come and restack the spine. So get used to it. Even now, we want to keep the spine really tall. Keep the spine long. Inhale and exhale, nod the chin and come all the way down. Now just hold it here, keep pushing through your heels, and then inhale and restack and come back up. Very good. So those 3 exercises, we're going to be wrapping up soon, but those 3 exercises, you can relax now by the way, are really, really good to trying to warm up your body. Remember, if you've never done it before, it takes time. So you can't buy time, you can just buy experience and you can buy practice, okay? So remember, our neutral pelvis, I'll run over it one more time for those who need it. We start with the feet, always hip width apart. So the ankles in line with knees, in line with the hips. Then we tuck our pelvis right under, we really round through the spine, toes stay on the floor. We then push the fingertips back and then realign, and we should be standing up nice and tall, okay? You can do this when you're driving even, or when you're laying in bed is another good one. I'll come to talk about that in another video. But just always think, where's my pelvis, okay? The next one we did was the hips, so you can try and sit cross-legged as many times as you want to. If you do another workout video on here, always try and sit cross-legged afterwards, because when your muscles are warmer, they're easy to work with. But just try and push out those hips to try and leave any tension. And then our third and final one to keep practicing was just the hands come down to just try and relax those tight hamstrings, okay? So I will be staying around for a few more questions if anyone's got any. I really hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, apologies that there's so much to talk about, but you have to do these things in order for the exercises to work, okay? It would be like doing, I don't know, a 50-minute walk and the next day wanting to run a marathon. It takes time to sort of build up. So especially with the core work, especially with the stretches, with tight muscles, remembering the neutral pelvis, the more you put your pelvis in neutral, the easier it will become when we do exercises. So please, please, please practice that. It will stand you in good stead, and by the time we come to do the next class on the 20th of January at 2:30, you'll think, I've done it, and oh, this was easier. And it's a really good way for you to sort of have your own personal practice in between sessions, okay? If you've got any questions, please just let me know. Oh, thank you so much, Thelma. That's really nice of you, thank you. I have got my own Pilates page. I know some of you have liked that, so thank you so much for that support. I will comment down below my Pilates page, along with my YouTube channel as well. I've got some little just shorter videos in between if you want to keep practicing. Of course, you can always come back to this video as well to sort of just remind yourself of little bits. And then thank you so much, Shaylee and Joe. If you've got any questions, please message me at any time. I know that this lockdown has sort of really affected us, and the great thing with Pilates, and I know there's a yoga instructor as well, is it's very calming, and when we breathe we sort of really relax the mind as well, so it can really help with anxiety. So it's another good way to sort of keep yourself quite relaxed and calm. With respect to cramp, if you get cramp when you do any of these exercises, I would suggest maybe just move around, go for a walk just before, because what can happen is if your muscles are cold, they're just seizing up a little bit. But you will find that as you do more stretches, that will really help to alleviate cramp as well. I know I get cramp in the middle of the night and it's like the worst pain ever, but the more you do it, the more you practice, the better your body will become. And I guarantee in even 4 sessions time, you'll start to feel a difference. You'll maybe start to feel a bit lighter on your feet. We also do a lot of balance work, which is really good as well for the core. So on the 20th, we will be doing a full class, and obviously if you practice your neutral pelvis, it'll be even easier and we can get started a little bit quicker. So thank you all so much for your lovely comments. And crikey, that was a killer. Yes, I always tell people about stretching because a lot of we don't really stretch as adults. Let's be honest, we never think, oh, let me sit cross-legged now. We probably haven't done it since we were like 8 years old at primary school, you know, so we never think about it, so it never really happens. So with that being said, when you practice it, you're in tune more with your body, because you know our bodies they go through so much, don't they? Really, having children, driving all the time, even laying in bed, that can really affect our posture as well. And we spend a third of our lives in bed, so all these tiny things people don't really notice, and they're like, oh, I wonder why that is. And now you might think, oh, it's because when I wash up, I stand like that, or when I sit down, I'm like this. Always try and sit up tall, and I promise you, from the bottom of my heart, you will feel so much better. So any questions, please ask. My messages are always open on my Pilates page, so please feel free to message me anytime. And thanks a lot for the info. That's fine. I know it was a lot of information, but honestly, you will need it, and the more sessions that we do, it's going to stand you in good stead. Great, thank you so much for the next session. So next session, 20th of Jan, 2:30. So it gives you plenty of time to grab yourselves a mat if you've not got one. Please don't panic if you haven't. A throw, a rug, obviously you don't want it too harsh, but that will help you as well. And we'll go through so many exercises that you can, and you always have homework every week as well, so you can always practice. Thank you as well for the Village Hall, that's my Pilates page. Yeah, if you could all give that a little like as well. I've got lots of little tips on there. I've got exercise of the week every single Friday to sort of help with stretching, mobility exercises, strengthening as well. So thank you all so much. Just wait for a couple more minutes, see if any more questions come through. Have a great rest of your day, whatever you do. I'm going to have a cup of tea and try and warm myself up, I think, for my dog walk, because I'm still really cold. But no, it's really cold, and obviously stay safe as well at this very challenging time. It's not the best, but we can't control it. Just keep ourselves safe. Fantastic, Diane. Wash up with your neutral pelvis. I promise you'll be addicted to it soon. But the more you remember, it's because when we, you always try and think, oh, I'm going to do this today. And then sometimes it can slip your mind. But the more you practice, the more your muscles and your body will react to that, because your muscles have memory. So I always say about ballet dancers, they always know how to point their toe, even if it was 50 years ago, because their muscles have so much memory. So your muscles will start having more memory the more you keep practicing. Thank you very much, Andrea. Thank you. Okay, if there's no more questions, then I am going to head off. Like I said, please message my page or comment down below, and I'll always get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks so much for joining me for my first live. I hope you all enjoyed it and it was helpful. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks with a full Pilates class. Take care of yourselves. Bye.